the one important thing about management, you've got to be able to make decisions that are unpopular, but know you're right, that's part of the job, and I think I can do that.
The story of Sir Alex Ferguson is a story of desire.
Oh, come on!
He's a boy from Glasgow, and that's never far away from him, you know, that aggression.
He broke the old firm in Scotland and went on to conquer Europe.
He is the greatest manager in the world. I would debate that with anyone.
South of the border, the passion burned brighter still.
He was young, he was bright, he knew what he wanted.
And that fire will never go out.
His desire is what it was 25 years ago.
Fantastic manager who could drive us to all these fantastic results.
The way in which he's kept the traditions of the club, the passion, the style of football.
It's amazing to see he's still going stronger at the 8 years.
You never lose. For him, lose, he don't know that word.
No words. The record is incredible.
I would think he'll go down as the greatest manager of all.
More than 40 trophies feature in Sir Alex Ferguson's story, but his legacy is a belief, a way of life.
The secret is not to look at others, is look at yourself. To have your own standards. We know what our standard is, sometimes we drop below it, but in the main, look at ourselves, judge ourselves, not worry about everyone else.
In 2011, Manchester United made history again. They claimed their 19th league title, finally overtaking Liverpool's record of 18 championship wins. For their manager, Sir Alex Ferguson, it was yet another milestone in a career littered with silverware. But the trophies won point to more than just a professional desire.
I think we're all judged with results, but I think the best way is to judge yourself in terms of what you believe in and the satisfaction you get of achieving that belief.
I'm so fortunate to work with him day in, day out, and he is not only one of the greatest managers of all time, he's one of the greatest human beings with very high standards and high values of normal things that are important in life, and he's besides a great manager, a fantastic life coach.
Alex Ferguson was born in Govan, Glasgow, on New Year's Eve 1941. A boyhood Rangers fan, he went on to play for Dunfermline, scoring a hat-trick against Rangers before moving to Ibrox in 1967. His playing career spanned 6 clubs and more than 300 games.
I basically was a goal scorer. You know, I had a great goal scoring record at Dunfermline, a good one at Rangers, and in every club I was at, I think I played about 322 or 342 league games and scored 190 league goals. But, yeah, I enjoyed a spell at Rangers and Dunfermline. It was good because that was me at my peak, really.
Outspoken as a player, Ferguson's leadership qualities pointed towards a career in management. After a brief spell with East Stirlingshire, he took charge at St Mirren.
St Mirren was a good apprenticeship in the sense of bringing my philosophy into football, because I always believed in producing young players and coaching. At that time at St Mirren, that's all we did.
Over 4 years at St Mirren, the club progressed, winning the 1977 First Division title. But Ferguson sought a bigger challenge, and at just 37 the opportunity arose. He took charge at Aberdeen and made his intentions clear from day one.
Oh, come on!
Nothing wrong with losing your temper, nothing wrong. At the end of the day, they get plenty of praise, and I think that sometimes premeditated, to be honest with you. You know, I think you've got to use all your facilities as a manager. There's times it's suitable to lose your temper.
When he came to the club, he was young. He obviously wanted to make his mark at the club. So it was a wee bit of, him finding out about the players and the players finding out about the new manager.
He used every tool that he had to get players to play. He treated players differently. Some he knew he had to be on their case the whole time. And some, as I say, felt that was a sign that he didn't like them or whatever, which was not the truth at all. He was basically just trying to get the best out of you. It was some quite aggressive stuff at times, but as I say, it was all part of a learning experience, and you either went with him or you didn't.
The manager's commitment to the cause was total. In March 1980, Aberdeen trailed Celtic by 8 points. And with snow affecting the Scottish fixture list, a crucial match against Morton was in jeopardy.
I got all the ground staff in, all the apprentices, all the kids, myself, all my staff, even our chairman, old Dick, was out there at 6 in the morning clearing the snow off the pitch. And we got the game on, and we won 1-0. And we didn't lose a game until the end of the season. After that, we went, I think, 15, 16 games without defeat.
Big occasion for you. Come on, enjoy it. Oh, you will, Gordon. Come on, Dougie. Alec, Gordon, well done. Well done.
A resounding 5-0 win against Hibernian clinched the league title for Aberdeen. It was the first time in 15 years neither Rangers nor Celtic had won the league. Alex Ferguson was becoming a force to be reckoned with. The Scottish FA Cup followed in 1982, with Rangers beaten 4-1 at Hampden Park after extra time. The sight of Willie Miller raising a trophy would become a very familiar one.
When you win one tournament or one trophy, it was the next trophy that you were looking forward to. You had your time of celebration, but you know, it was a time where you were really focused. And doing well. And he made sure that you were focused.
Aberdeen at that time, it was starting to mature. The team was starting to mature. The young players were a revelation. We started to, look at a really good team.
The next target lay further afield. Ferguson was determined to prove himself in European football. In 1983, Aberdeen reached the European Cup Winners' Cup final in Gothenburg. Their opponents, Real Madrid.
It's McLeish. Deflection, Black. And Aberdeen take the lead. Johnny Gill with the dummy. Careless one from McLeish. That'll be a penalty kick, yes. Leighton is penalised. Well, a penalty kick for Real. Juanito will take it. No chance for Leighton. Delightful little chip forward. San Jose, the covering player for Mark McGee. Hughes waiting in the middle. Yes! That is a magnificent goal for Aberdeen.
You know, the scoreline says 2-1, it could have been 10. We absolutely slaughtered them. But, you have to look upon it as a sort of a fairy tale.
I mean, it really doesn't happen in the history of Europe. But I think if you look down the Cup Winners' Cup, you won't see another name like Aberdeen. It's all the top names in European football that are engraved on that trophy.
10 days later, Aberdeen were chasing another trophy, the Scottish FA Cup. Eric Black's goal in extra time sealed the victory. But despite winning their second trophy in as many weeks, Alex Ferguson was not impressed.
A disgraceful performance. I'm okay in winning cups, doesn't matter. Their standards have been set long ago and we're not going to accept that from any Aberdeen team. There's no way can we take any glory from it.
Ferguson won 3 league titles with Aberdeen, as well as 4 Scottish FA Cups, a League Cup, the Cup Winners' Cup and the Super Cup. He had also been awarded an OBE.
Jesus Christ, this Icelandic air's gone for your brain!
There had even been time for a short spell in charge of the national team, which included the 1986 World Cup finals in Mexico, following the untimely death of Jock Stein. But in the autumn of that year, a new challenge presented itself. On the 6th of November 1986, Alex Ferguson arrived at Old Trafford to replace the charismatic Ron Atkinson. Right from the outset, Ferguson's target was clear.
The only way we can win a European Cup is by winning the league. And that has got to be the target for Manchester United. And that's the challenge to Manchester United players, not to Alex Ferguson. Manchester United players must surely see that as the greatest triumph for themselves, because 20 years is a long, long time.
United's history was rich, fantastic history. Particularly in the production of young players in Mark Busby's time. And I thought that was the right route. I thought that's the way Manchester United should be. And we worked really hard, Archie Knox and myself, we worked really, really hard It took years to turn the whole thing around.
Ferguson set about transforming the entire culture of the club, in keeping with his beliefs, revolutionising diet, training, scouting and youth development systems. New players arrived, but 3 years without a trophy saw the Scot under severe pressure.
Well, we all have bad days, there's no question, we all have bad moments. You have to have a perseverance about you to see things like that through. But yes, you have to say that if results had gone badly, all for an indefinite time, then obviously I would have lost my job, but that's a fact of life.
Many see the FA Cup third-round trip to Nottingham Forest in January 1990 as the decisive match, when Ferguson got his break. Mark Robins scored the only goal of the game. United went on a cup run all the way to Wembley, where they would meet Crystal Palace in the final. After a 3-3 draw, they met for the replay on May the 17th. Lee Martin's goal finally gave Alex Ferguson his first trophy at Manchester United. The tide of opinion was turning.
I think that was probably the point where people say, it's a different United. I've got on 5 players in 1989 who were at half the team that won the cup in 1990.
Ferguson's first trophy with the club was swiftly followed by his second. Mark Hughes scored both goals in the Cup Winners' Cup final against Barcelona in a 2-1 win. It was all coming together, but this was just the beginning.
The results, the evidence would start to show. The young players were starting to come through. Ryan Giggs and Wee Sharp and young players like that were all starting to emerge out of the pack, and they were showing promise.
Sharp and Giggs had been a revelation, and the 1992 season saw a fight for that elusive league title. But the young stars were swiftly and memorably reminded of their responsibilities.
The manager come round to Sharpie's house. There was a few apprentices there, a few girls, and we were all ready to hit the town, so the manager come round and caught us really in the act. He sat us down through everyone else at the house, told us in no uncertain terms, you know, what he expected of a professional footballer.
1992 saw Leeds United win the title. The following season, United came back stronger, but with 6 games left, they were 1 down against Sheffield Wednesday, with seconds remaining. In one of the most remarkable comebacks in Premier League history, Steve Bruce scored twice.
Put back by Pallister. And Bruce is there again! Can you believe it? Look what it means to the manager!
Manchester United won all of their remaining games, and Ferguson had delivered the club's first league title in nearly 3 decades.
First championship with Manchester United was unbelievable. It was a long wait, but once it came, it was celebrated, and you could just sense it, feel it everywhere.
We felt that we had to do it this year, and thankfully we did. We played great football that year, and that sort of relief and sort of confidence that we got from that just spurred us on to go on and give us that taste to carry on winning leagues.
That's the barometer, of course, of Manchester United is a week. We hadn't won it for 26 years. I think the catalyst was bringing Cantona. He brought an incredible confidence to all the players because they had that inner confidence himself and exuded that into the team. The players loved him. The players absolutely idolised him.
Eric was probably just the icing on the cake. He just made so many important goals, he scored so many important goals, and he just gave us that extra dimension that perhaps we were missing.
The 1993 league win was the beginning of a football dynasty. The title was successfully defended the following season, before the double was completed with a 4-0 win against Chelsea in the FA Cup final. United were now the dominant force in English football, but to move forward, Ferguson knew he had to rebuild, and the following season key players departed. In the summer of 1995, Paul Ince, Mark Hughes and Andrei Kanchelskis all left Old Trafford.
Managing change is very difficult because, like family, you get very attached to footballers, And when you see them grow old and you know that they're not the same players, and you have to make some important decisions for the club, then it's not easy.
Not for the first time, Ferguson put his faith in youth.
People could see within the club was these were potentially top young players coming through. And then, of course, that 91-92 group with Butt, Beckham, Neville's, Scholes, with an incredible array of talent.
The amount of young players he's brought through the club's been fantastic, and he believes in young people and gives them the chance and gives them the head and believes they can sort of climb a mountain for him.
By 1996, the kids, christened Fergie's fledglings, had repaid their manager's faith with another Premiership win. At Wembley in May, only Liverpool could prevent a second League and Cup double. Eric Cantona settled things with only 5 minutes left. Ferguson had now lifted 12 trophies in a decade at the club. It had always been a long-term vision.
A football club is not just the team, the first team itself. A football club is the infrastructure, your staff, your youth team, school kids coming through, reserve team, staff who can cope with that, good coaches. You know, it's not just about a football team, and that's what I believe in.
In 1999, Manchester United were chasing 3 trophies: the FA Cup, Premiership and the Champions League. In April, they met Arsenal in an FA Cup semi-final replay at Villa Park. Peter Schmeichel's last-minute penalty save forced the tie into extra time. With the team still tied at 1-1, the ball fell to Ryan Giggs.
I was having a bit of a nightmare, actually. I kept giving it away, so I decided the next time I got the ball I was just going to dribble and see what happened. And yeah, thankfully I scored that goal, and I think it gave everyone that lift and everyone that belief that we could go on and do something special that season.
Just a week later, United's never-say-die attitude came to the fore once again. In the Champions League semi-final second leg against Juventus, they fought back from 2-0 down to win 3-2, booking their place in another final. As the season came to its climax, Ferguson juggled his squad in pursuit of history. First, United clinched the league title with a 2-1 win over Tottenham Hotspur. 6 days later, Newcastle United were swept aside 2-0 in the FA Cup final. The club stood on the brink of an unprecedented treble. 4 days later in Barcelona, they met Bayern Munich in the Champions League final.
You know, the manager just said, you've got here, you got this far, playing the right way, having that belief, never giving up. So whatever happens, you know, don't give up.
And it's in! Oh, it's not the start Manchester United wanted. Delight for Bayern.
You know, 1-0 down at half-time, I think it was important what the manager said at half-time. You know, you don't want to be walking past that trophy at the end of the game, not being able to touch it. You know, just think how you're going to feel. Them words spurred us on.
I think my favourite goal is and will always be the equalising goal in the Champions League final, because that gave us a shot.
We're now into the 3 minutes of added time. Schmeichel's up for the corner. Giggs. Sheringham! United are back in the game. Seconds away from the final whistle, and Manchester United have drawn level.
The emotions just change within, you know, a couple of minutes from, you know, thinking, you know, maybe we're going to lose this to pure ecstasy.
And another corner. Sheringham and Solskjaer! Unbelievable!
We're actually winning the game with virtually the last kick of the game, and the emotions swung so much, and it was over such a short space of time that, yeah, it was the best time that I've ever had on a football pitch.
We scored in the last minute too many times for it to be an accident. What it did tell you about Manchester United was that they had an indomitable spirit of never giving in and chasing right to the wire, to the very last breath. And that is not an accident. That's the character of the team. That's the personality of the team. And you know, because of that, they deserve to win it.
The streets of Manchester ground to a halt as the city paid tribute to the team and the manager who'd put them in the history books.
Well, it's just a fairy tale also in itself, because to achieve it, no one will do it again, I'm sure of that. If it's someone who's going to do it, it'll be us.
That same year, Alex Ferguson's achievements were recognised with a knighthood. And there was no let-up in his desire for success. 6 more league titles followed over the next decade. Players had come and gone, but there was no room for sentiment. New teams were built, more titles won. But the mantra emanating from the man at the top remained the same.
His desire to win is out there for everyone to see. He's passionate. He wants it more than ever before and more than anyone else, and that rubs off on his players.
He never give you rest. He wants not the 100 of you. He wants every day the 101% of you. You know, he just push you. He don't have limit for you. You know, he's like you never win, you never lose. For him, lose. He don't know that word.
It's an attitude that has characterised all of Ferguson's teams throughout his career, and not just his own clubs. With many of his former players having moved into management, his legacy has spread far beyond the walls of Old Trafford.
I encourage them all to go for the badges. I did so with Mark Hughes. Mark came in for a spell with us, and you know, Brucey is always popping in. Brian Robson, you know, all these players always pop in to see us, and I think that in a way that it reflects not just myself, it reflects Manchester United really. It's a good family club.
A lot of great players have come through the club. It's like a circle that gets wider and wider. The likes of Steve Bruce, Roy Keane, all the people that stepped into that management role have definitely picked up a lot of good features that they bring into practice, you know, today.
A firm believer in the traditions and history of a football club. Before the 50th anniversary of the Munich air disaster in 2008, Ferguson called upon a survivor of the tragedy.
He actually asked, he said, do you think you could come and just have a little chat with the players and have a little word with them about the history of the club, you know, so that they know what's expected of them. And I went and I did that.
We're so privileged to be able to have somebody like him as an ambassador for the club, and to have, you know, the boss and him to be able to pass down the knowledge is incredible.
Sir Bobby Charlton's words may well have struck a chord. Many critics still felt Ferguson needed a second European Cup to be considered among the all-time greats. And in 2008, against Chelsea in Moscow, the manager and his players delivered, winning 6-5 on penalties.
Who knows, you know, the difference between winning the Champions League might have been that little chat.
Sir Bobby led the team up to collect the trophy, 40 years after he'd lifted it himself and 50 years after the Munich air crash. In 2010, Ferguson became the longest-serving manager in Manchester United's history, eclipsing the great Sir Matt Busby. He has more honours to his name than any other manager in modern-day history. His club have now overtaken Liverpool's record of 18 league titles. Today, even rival managers past and present have only admiration for a man who's become a legend. And all this stems from a belief, a fire, that still burns brightly inside the boy from Govan.
The record is incredible. To win once, any manager can do it, even the bad ones. Win during a decade, you can say that is difficult, and is only for some, not for many. To win over 2 decades or 3 decades is only for very, 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 very few.
Longevity is I think, a true mark of greatness in football. Not just building the team, but putting up with the negative part of it, putting up with the criticism that comes your way inevitably if you're at a big football club, and just the pressures of every day in managing a big football club. And it doesn't look to have any effect on whatsoever. But arguably, I would think he'll go down as the greatest manager of all.
He's got the ability to adapt to change, right? Because he's working with different generations now than he did, 20 years ago and 10 years ago. So that is a big feature to have. But on top of that, he's always had the ability to make tough decisions when it needed, always for one reason, for the welfare of the club.
I think it's something you always persevere with, is what you believe in. Don't change that belief, because if you do, then you're deserting yourself. You're letting yourself down, and I would never do that. I never let myself down. I always went for what I believed in was the right way.